Welcome everyone to M365 UK. This is the 26th edition. My name is Chirag Patel, and so we have over 40 attendees registered. So looking forward to seeing you all. And just want to say, this event is being recorded, and so it will be available hopefully by Friday, Saturday. And in the meantime, please feel free to post your questions in the chat window. Okay, so today's M365 UK, we have with us Marco Rocca from Italy, and we have also got Juan Gonzalez from, excuse me, that's one too far. Carlos Gonzalez from the Netherlands, but obviously from Spain as well. And so we'll get to them in a short while. So we've got two wonderful sessions at M365 for yourselves for covering SharePoint Syntex and the Teams shared channel. So a bit more a bit later on for that. For those of you who are new to M365 UK, my name is Chirag Patel, as I mentioned. techchirag.com is the best way to get to me. I work with Patel Consulting, specializing in the Microsoft 365 collaboration and productivity services. But generally, kind of come from the SharePoint, SQL background, Office 365, and then now Microsoft 365, and more specifically with Teams and other areas. So been doing this for about 20 odd years now. I try and keep up to date with the certifications, as some of us know that things constantly change. The landscape of M365 is just constantly up on the go. M365 UK is the Twitter handle, and also hashtag M365 UK. So do follow us on that one, and if there's anything that we can do for you, then please do reach out to myself, and I'd love to help out on that one. I'm also a member of Viva Explorer. That's basically a group of us. There's about 10 of us who voluntarily share all things to do with Microsoft and Viva. And so if you look at the hashtag Viva Explorer on Twitter or LinkedIn, you'll find very useful posts and links going to all sorts of Microsoft Viva places there as well. And I'm also just recently been renewed as a Microsoft MVP, and now it's called on M365 Apps and Services. So there's been a change from Office apps to M365 apps. So so those are my details there. And for in terms of M365 UK has been running for over 2 years, and try and do this on a monthly basis, middle of the month, usually on Wednesdays. So we have got over 900 members on Meetup. So hopefully, there are a variety of sessions that I tend to cover off. But also on YouTube, you'll find M365 UK videos. If you search on the Google, for example, then you will see all the past recordings for various topics across M365, Power BI, and Power Platform. So slides on SharePoint, and I'll post these links in the chat window a bit later on. So just want to say, as ever, thank you for following M365 UK. Next month, I've got M365 UK organized again for on the 10th of August, two MVPs, Carolina Katukari from Finland and Ragnar Hell from Germany. Again, two different sessions. The first session from Carolina will be around Microsoft Viva, but this one is more around on the business side of things as opposed to the tech. So that will be very interesting. If you could join us, then that would be great. And then also a session from Ragnar will be around the Azure Active Directory and minimizing the attack paths from every angle perspective that there is. So looking forward to welcoming those, and hopefully you can join us on the 10th of August, same time, 4 p.m. British Standard Time. So that'll be great. Again, if you do want to present, we're always looking for presenters, and if you have any topic to present, or even just a short topic on your business side of things, or any particular case study or technology, then I would love to hear from you. That's the link over there. You can scan the QR code, and that'll just take you into a short form to submit your session ideas. So it would be great to have you with us. Okay, so back to today. I think I just want to welcome Marco Rocca, who works with Microsoft. We've also going to have his colleague joining us a bit later on, Steve Pushlake as well. So they'll be covering the new AI experience that you have within SharePoint Syntex. And it's been around, a few months, especially when all the content is within SharePoint. But the way to then transform that into a knowledge, then you're going to use the ever-growing machine learning and teaching to basically get all your documents automated, processing in different ways from a variety of templates and models that you can use. So this session, I'm really looking forward to this from Marco. And Marco and I, we know for for a few years now, and every event wherever I go, Marco is always there. And being at Microsoft, giving out his time to be at the community, I think that's a great thing to have. So I just want to say, big thanks to Marco for giving up your time and effort here as well. And then also we got Juan Carlos Gonzalez, as some of you may know, is a contributing author to a few books, as well as a 15-time MVP. So a great community warrior, and really honored to have both of you here for M365 UK. So with that, I think I'll hand over to you, Marco, and yeah, take it away.
Okay. Hi, Steve. Perfect. We start now, or we attend?
Yes, it's over to you.
Perfect. Okay, I share my screen, and we start with our presentation.
Great.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session, the new artificial intelligence experience using SharePoint Syntex. Before starting, thanks Chirag for this opportunity to be here. Thanks Steve to share this session with me. Who we are? My name is Marco Rocca, and I'm a senior customer engineer in Modern Workplace at Microsoft Italy. I work with SharePoint since 2008, and today I work with all Microsoft 365 ecosystem, collaboration ecosystem, Dana, list, forms, stream, etc. And obviously today I work with Teams, but in the last 3 years I'm focusing on Power Platform. In this slide you can find my mail and my social link, LinkedIn and Twitter. Feel free to contact me for every question or curiosity do you have regarding SharePoint and Power Platform in general. Steve?
Yeah, thanks, Marco. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Puslik. I'm a Content Services Global Black Belt here at Microsoft, and I focus mainly on Syntex, AI Builder, automated ways of getting information out of documents, I say. I've worked on every version of SharePoint that we've produced, and also Power Platform, security compliance. So, like I tell people, if it touches SharePoint, I probably have touched it as well. So, so thanks for letting me join.
Perfect. The agenda of this session, we start with an introduction about SharePoint Syntex, what is Syntex, and what are the objectives that arise Syntex today for your daily work. Later, we'll propose you an overview about two Syntex model for processing and document understanding. After, we tell you about the new feature released for Syntex in the last month, including content assembly. That is one of the main feature released in the second version of Syntex. At the end, Steve will show you different type of scenario where you can apply Syntex for your work. This session, I think, will be only an introduction about Syntex, because it will be necessary to have much time to let you discover Syntex in general, in my opinion. Okay, we start with an introduction to SharePoint Syntex. To understand the importance of syntax, we need to understand the current moment for the entire world today. Our world is changing during the last period in general, for the pandemic, for other topics. Is the world is changing, and is changed also how we work in our organization. Okay. In fact, today we have several challenges to face. For example, reduce cost, speed up the adoption of new technology, etc. But I think that we have also one challenge that is most important. Take advantage of the amount of data we have available today in our database, in our CRM, for example, but also in our documents. We have a ton of documents available in our organization. Some research show that it's possible that extract content and find information from these documents consume a lot of time. Also, people tell us they don't know where to search or how to search the information inside these documents. But not only, people often don't feel confident that the results they get from this search are the best. Okay, this is an important topic, but not only, because today we have another big problem. Look at this picture. It's a typical real scenario in our organization. We have 20% of data that are structured data. Typically, these data are in ERP and CRM system, okay, but is the only visible part of data in your organization today. But you have also an hidden part of data that are composed, for example, from documents, invoice, email, contracts, letters, other generic type of document. Image and media file are unstructured data today, okay, because I saved, for example, a ton of document in different SharePoint site, but for example, I don't assign metadata. It's not possible create an advanced search automatically. Okay, I can find only based on a generic search in SharePoint. Then no classification, and then it's not possible find easily there's contents. But why it's so difficult today classify the content? Mainly for two reasons. The users not know what documents contain. Typically, the user know the name of the file, okay, but the name is not enough to classify the content. And here comes the second problem that we have. User has to open the document, read the content, classify, understand the content, classify, for example, using SharePoint metadata. But this operation is very expensive in terms of time and cost. Imagine having to repeat this process for thousands of documents every day. This is why artificial intelligence is today most important in our daily work. Today, we have a different type of artificial intelligence services that allow us to create applications that can reduce time to extract information classify information, detect object from an image, recognize text, and recognize the sentiment. Okay, then it's possible to use this model to reduce the time and cost for classification. Look at this slide that is a typical use case scenario, the invoice classification. Suppose that you have 5,000 invoice to process every month, and each invoice need 3 minutes to classify the content. The total is 250 hours for a month, then 30 days. Okay, then today is possible reduce the time to implement this type of process that you have. This is why SharePoint Syntex was introduced by Microsoft. SharePoint Syntex can help you to achieve this result, reduce time and cost to extract information. But what is Syntex today? Syntex is composed by 3 different services. The first service is the content intelligence. This service uses artificial intelligence model to automate classification of file and extraction of information. In this part, you have document understanding process that is used for unstructured document. For example, a generic letter, or you have a form processing that this is used for structured document, for example, the invoice, order, etc. Then artificial intelligence can help you to extract information. The second is the content service. Content service allow you today to build new document based on a modern template. This part is called content assembly, and I'll show you this part in this section in the next part of this presentation. The last service is the content discovery. Content discovery is based on Microsoft information protection and allow you to apply security orientation label based on a content of the document automatically. Okay, then the content discovery analyze the content of your document and automatically apply your security label. But what are the benefits in general of using Syntex? Now you are able to access a large quantity of data, analyze them, and extract information, extract the relevant content automatically. Okay, but now we go deeper to document understanding and form processing. Document understanding uses artificial intelligence model to automate classification of file and extraction of information. To use document understanding, you need to create a model to extract information, because to need to create a model, obviously, to learn to the system how it's possible to extract information from your document. But to do this, you need to create a particular type of SharePoint site called content center. You need during the setup of a Syntex, you need to create the first SharePoint content center. After this, you can create other content center if you need this. Okay. The first step is create the model. All syntax models are based on classifier and extractor. A classifier is used to classify the document. Okay, classifier allow you to understand if a document is a contract, is a letter, or other type of a document. When you define a classifier, you can choose if SharePoint create for you a new content type with a set of metadata, or you can use an existing content type. Why this? Because you have an extractor. For example, from a generic contract, you need to extract not only if the document is a contract, but also to extract other type of information. For example, the signature date, the number of the user, the amount of this contract. Then you can create a other SharePoint site column associated to the previous content type. When you create a new column, you can also select the type of column. For example, if is a generic text, is a number, is a manage metadata column. Okay, then you can define a set of extractor. This type of process is useful for unstructured or semi-structured file formats, then contract, statement of work, other type of project document, etc. To create a model, you need only 5 positive document and only 1 negative document. I'll show you this what is this mean in my demo. The second part is the form processing. Form processing is used for a structured document, for example, an invoice. This part is based on a Power Platform artificial intelligence builder. Okay, in the past you have the AI builder in Power Platform. You can create a model. You can create a Power Automate that extract information from your, for example, from your invoice when you upload a document into a SharePoint document library. Using form processing in Syntex, Syntex can help you to create all the step in one single point. You can define for processing in a different document library that you have. I return only 1 second to document understanding because I forget to mention that when you define create a model, it's possible reuse a single model to different document library in different SharePoint site. Okay, I start with my first demo. Okay, this is my content center. It's a particular SharePoint site. This is, I can select the model. Then I start to create a model. Exists a wizard to do this. For example, UK model. Okay. I can select an invoice processing and receipt processing that are pre-built model, or I can create a new document understanding model. I can select create a new content type, or I want to use an existing content type. In this demo, I create new content type. Okay. In a few seconds, my model is ready. Then I need to associate a file to my model. For example, I select 5 contract. Okay. Then positive example. And 1, for example, statement of work. Well, then I need to define a classifier. Okay, this is a contract. Yes, positive. The second is a contract. Is a contract. Is a contract. Okay, this is one statement of work. Then is negative. Perfect. Okay, but now I need to help model to understand if this type of document is a real contract or not. For example, I can create an explanation. Okay. Contract. I can select a phrase list. And for example, in all of my contract, I have this phrase. Okay. I can save and train my model. Okay. Perfect. Match, match, match. Obviously, the last document don't match. Well, I finished to create my model because I have identified all contract based on this phrase. You can add several phrases to identify your document. But for example, I want to extract from this contract other type of data. I can create an extractor. For example, username. Okay. Then I want to create a new SharePoint column associated to my content type. I can select the column type. For example, in this case, a single line of text. Okay, but where is in my contracts the name? This is the name. Okay, next file. Alma Marshall. Perfect. Bill. Kate. The last is okay. Perfect. In this case, no label because it's not the correct. No label. Then I can create an explanation. Okay, I need to help my model to identify the position of the username of this contract. For example, I want to create, for example, after label. Okay, the system automatically identified that after this label, we have this phrase. Okay, save. I can create another explanation. Okay, I use a template. Notice there is before my label. I can save and train my model. Okay, work perfect. I can test my model. Okay, I can select, oops, sorry. I can select this, add. The live demo effect as always. Okay, don't, sorry for this. Obviously, I can upload a test file and to test my model. After this, the last step is to associate my model to one or more document library in different SharePoint site. Okay, I'll show you the final effect. For example, in this document library contract change, I have associated a model. I can upload, for example, one file. Okay, what's happened in this when you upload the file? Okay, when you upload the file, the original content type is document, but Syntex analyze the file for me. I don't need to open the document, analyze the content, and add a value to each column that I have. But if I wait 1 minute, okay, this is the final result. Syntex extract, for example, the username, the class, the date, the contract date, etc. Okay, this is the date of the contract. I'll show you in this document. Okay, this is the data of the contract. This is the user layer. I think you understand the value of Syntex in your daily work. I think that is fantastic. At the end of this presentation, Steve, I'll show you a typical real usage scenario. I return to my presentation because I want to tell you about the content assembly. Content assembly is one of the new features that you have in Syntex, because all organizations need to create a new document based on the previous template, but I want to create this new document dynamically. Okay, I don't want to open all document, add manually all value. Syntex can automate this process. Then you can upload the template, create a new modern template, and define where all value are taken when you generate a new document. My second demo. Okay, I have a generic SharePoint document library. You can see this new feature, create a modern template. For example, I can create, I want to use this template. Okay. For example, this is the name of the user. This is the address. Okay, but in this case, I open a new window of my SharePoint site. Just a second. Because, for example, suppose that you have a generic SharePoint list called contact data. Okay, with title, data, street, city, state, zip code, etc. Okay, for example, I want that this part, okay, name, I can select this part from my contact data list. For example, contact data. Okay, next is the title. Okay, this is the zip code. I can select, for example, from the same list, and I select zip code column. But not only, for example, I need to create a different type of contract for my different company. For example, I can select all my company from a manage metadata term set, for example. Okay, for example. Okay, then I need only to publish my template. Done. Okay, what is possible to do this? I can create a new template, a new document based on this template. Okay, I can select the company. For example, in this case, I want to apply motorbike. The name will be, for example, one of the value that I have, add relevance. Okay, then I can create Adele. I can create a new template easily. And this is the final result. I think that is a fantastic feature, another fantastic feature. Adele Adventure Motorbike Company. Okay, but in Syntex is not only document understanding, for processing, content assembly, because you have other fantastic feature. The first feature is the metadata search. When you associate a syntax model to your document library, the behavior of the search box change, because it's possible to have automatically, it's out-of-the-box feature, an advanced search based on a syntax metadata. For example, in this case, for the invoice, you can search based on total tax, the total, the ID of the invoice, etc. But not only, it's possible today work with syntax using a PowerShell. Okay, in PHP PowerShell module, you can use different command to automate syntax operation. For example, import and export model, publish document understanding, trigger the process, and other type of command. I think that is one of the important part. How is possible to help the customer to adopt syntax? Today, you have a tool. It's possible that help you to generate a report that allow you to understand how many type of column you have in your SharePoint site, how many content type, where column and content type are used, etc. Then this Power BI report can help you to understand how is possible and how is easy adopt syntax in your organization. You can generate this report for all SharePoint sites in your tenant, or you can specify a single site to generate a report. And this is the output. This tool is based on Microsoft 365 assessment tool. It's a command line application. You can use, for example, this command. Okay, and in this case, I pass only one SharePoint site. The output is a list of CSV file and a Power BI report that take data from this file. And this is the final results. Okay, you can see the library with custom column. You can monitor the column usage from all sites. Okay, then this report can help you to understand how it's possible adopt Syntex in your organization. I finish my part. Steve, is your time. You can take a control.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Marco. Great stuff, right? So, I mean, holy cow, the ability to automatically extract metadata used to be just a thing of the past and manual beyond belief. So, yeah, this is pretty awesome stuff. Okay, so what I wanted to kind of focus on with regards to a scenario is some invoice processing and a couple of models, just kind of to piggyback off of what Marco showed you. But let's first talk about the scenario itself, right? So when we're talking about invoices, there's really two parts of an invoice that I focus on. And, obviously we're going to receive the invoice through a attachment in an email, use Power Automate to strip it off, drop it into a library, get it into SharePoint, I tell people, right? Once you get it into SharePoint, then we got to capture the metadata, route it for approval. Typically it's going to end up in a line of business system so that we can, we got to pay the check, right? So, so that is where some of that integration with some connectors comes into play as well. So, yeah, for the most part, everything to the left of the payment can certainly happen with Syntex and Power Automate. If we look at a quick, overview of the invoice, naturally you've got header information, has, it's non-repeating, things like that. But you've also got line item information. So some customers, they want to pull out this line item information because they need to code it accordingly in their general ledger so that they can pay it, track, inventory, things like that, right? But when we talk about and I explain the schema a little bit around an invoice and how we need to store this in SharePoint, do we create SharePoint tables and relationships? Yeah. Are we supposed to? It's probably more suitable for SQL or Dataverse, but you can certainly do it in SharePoint. And that's kind of the example that I've got here is the header information that we're pulling off of the invoice. Yeah, put it into a document library associated with the document like you normally would. But then also using AI Builder, get the line item information stored in a list. Do we have that relationship back to the document for the line items? We absolutely do, right? So something to think about there. Again, if you're doing any, serious invoice processing, the Dataverse and SQL is going to be your friend here, but Syntex can certainly help with that. Okay, when we talk about reviewing the invoice, this is where Power Apps comes into play, right? So I'm going to jump ahead to the solution here really quick to say, if I am a accounts payable person, or if I'm somebody who wants to come in and see an example or see the invoice, see the metadata that was extracted, I can certainly do that. If I need to assign an approver at that point, go ahead and do that. But you can see that, using Power Apps, we're quickly, going through the, my job or my batch, if you will, reviewing everything and making some decisions and moving it on. In the same context, I can also see the line item. So you can imagine from a user perspective, you're going to a document library and you're looking at the document. Then you're going to the line items list and you're looking at a list of the items that are there. Then you may be going somewhere else to look at the approvals, right? Not a great user experience. Power Apps allows us to bring all of that together in one interface. So if I want to see the detail of the invoice and the document, great. If I want to see the line items, great. If I want to see the approval history, great. Okay, so we're all combining this into a pretty unique user experience that's quite frankly pretty simple to use, right? So, all right. So let's back into the nuts and bolts here. And from a Syntex perspective, Marco showed the custom document understanding model, But you also notice that there was the invoice template and the receipt template. And with the invoice template, I've jumped ahead a little bit here to say this is exactly what it looks like. You drop an invoice as your sample document. And what Syntex will do is it will go and determine what extractors are on the page. Okay, so we've done, as part of the building the template, we analyzed, thousands of invoices from every shape and size and what have you. And we've determined that there's 26 common elements on a header of an invoice, and we're going to provide the ability to automatically map those to that particular invoice. So from a user perspective, when you're training this model, all you're doing is simply going through and confirming that, yeah, this is what I want to extract, right? This is an invoice number. Yeah, it's an invoice ID, right? Total amount, total amount. Once you get done with that and you publish that out to your library, works just like any other Syntex model does, right? So fairly, and I do this demo with customers in, sub 10 minutes. And they're like, holy buckets, this is pretty cool stuff. Okay. Receipt processing, same thing, right? When you're doing a demo, pull a receipt out of your pocket, scan it with your phone, put it into a library, and it's going to extract all the information off of that receipt. So pretty powerful stuff. All right. So from the invoice Syntex model, that's what we're using. When we talk about the line item information, that's when we jump over to AI Builder. Okay, so with an AI Builder, and again, I've jumped ahead here a little bit to say that when we create the fields that we want to extract, there's going to be that single page table option that we can add. And in this case, I've added my invoice lines, descriptions, typical things that I'm going to find for line items in that document, right? So from there, now that I've defined what that table looks like, I can go and add various invoices to my collection. But now I've got the ability to map out where am I pulling this from, right? So now, as this is loading with my 5 sample documents, I can rubber band, or I can verify where the region is that I want to use. And now I can specify the rows and the columns, and I'm hovering here on purpose because you can see the green area that it's going to extract. But if I go to preview that table, yeah, guess what? It's doing a pretty good job of extracting all that information out. And I've had really, really good success with, structured, unstructured documents in table format, pulling that out. So pretty cool stuff there. If you want to edit the table, yeah, so now you can see that I've got, my cursor, and I can add specific rows and columns if I want to. Hold down the Alt button here, Control button, and now that switches to columns, right? So I can specify header, footer, all this stuff in there. And when you publish this model and use it within Power Automate, this will produce a collection that you can loop through and get each one of these items. Soon as you loop through that collection using, the control loop within Power Automate, now that's what will put it into that particular list. Okay, so here I'm just looping through each one of the items in the invoice. The invoice ID is a foreign key back to that invoice document that I was creating earlier. But the way that it fires is when I drop an invoice into the document library, Syntex picks it up and processes it and extracts all the metadata. At the same time, Power Automate fires as well. So Power Automate is going to fire. It's going to take the document. It's going to run it through the model that I published in Power Automate, do that line item extraction, and then the two are going to marry up once the processing has been complete, and then you'll see that in the Power App as well. Right. All of that is available on GitHub, so if you want to go ahead and download the solution to get started, please do. If you do have any questions, thoughts, as you're looking through that configuration, please reach out directly to me. I'd love to hear your feedback and ways that we can improve that solution. So, okay. Marco, I appreciate the time. Chirag as well.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Thanks, Steve. That was cool.
We are in time.
Yeah, holy cow, we're on time. That's a first, right?
Well, you can carry on for the next 10 minutes if you wish.
No, I can carry on all day with this stuff. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. For the moment, that's all, and it's a Q&A time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think yeah. I mean, there's a lot to take in, isn't there? I think, and especially for the attendees, I think some of you may be familiar some aspects of SharePoint syntax, but certainly what you can do, especially with this invoice scenario that you just demonstrated, Steve. I think it was beyond me as well, I must say.
Yeah.
I'll admit to that.
It's kind of funny because the invoice header information, I call it, and the line items, those kind of marry up. But then you throw the approvals in here, and then you throw everything in Teams where you have adaptive cards and so forth, so that people can interact with it that way. Then, yeah, it starts to become, hopefully inspiring people to say, yeah, we can use the data. Now that we're getting the data out of documents, the hard part's done, right? Now we get into the fun part of using it, which is where we wanted to be, 10 years ago. So, yeah.
Good. I think if there's any questions, I think absolutely I'll just open to the attendees. Feel free to unmute yourselves, camera on if you prefer. And yeah, just fire away. I think, you've got the SharePoint syntax experts, So yeah,
fire
okay.
Away. I see in the attendee one big expert of the syntax, that is Leon.
Yes.
Hi, Leon.
Yeah, hey, thanks for joining, Leon. Appreciate your contributions.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Marco. That was a great presentation, and Steve too. That power up scenario, fits him really well. And
awesome.
Yeah, it was a really good presentation, guys, and yes, see the power of syntax and what you can do with it.
Yes, sir. So yeah. We're just opening doors, aren't we? I mean, this is really, we're on the cusp of some really good stuff here. So,
yeah. You've got the metadata, and you can do lots with it, like Power BI. You can do all the automation opportunities. But yeah, there's so much power. But yeah, I'll stop there before I get too excited.
I was going to say, we need to contain ourselves, don't we?
Well, perhaps Leon, you could continue with your part 2 session of this series if you prefer.
Another time, definitely.
Yeah.
No, I would love to have you. Absolutely. So yeah, have a drink. No, but look, listen. I think I can see the comments. Awesome stuff. Good demos. Excellent. Great feedback there. And I think also what would help is especially for you, the attendees. I think if you can at least fill out the feedback form, at least it will help Steve and Marco anyways with regards to if there's anything that you want to see, something different, something added. So yeah, absolutely feel free. And for me, I would say, it's just 5 stars. But I'm not allowed to fill out, so I won't fill that in, so don't worry.
Yeah. Put that into a loop and, update the form automatically for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome
Listen,
stuff.
look, I think I hope you're still around for the next hour or so. If there's any afterthought questions from anyone, then I'm sure Marco will get back. If Steve, you're around as well, then absolutely as well. So okay, so we're coming up to the hour, I think, and just want to say, one more time, big thanks to Marco and Steve for giving up your time, especially in this hot weather. And I'm sure it's absolutely worth it, right, to escape from the sun.
Thanks. Thanks you for this opportunity, for your time and your work for the community, because I think that is important sharing all this information and sharing the knowledge, because it's not possible to know all, because for example, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams are
It's
too
huge.
big at the moment, then it's not possible to read a ton of documents or follow all.
Correct. It's
Then I think
there's-
that the community, this is the very, very power of community.
No, well, we all try our bits, and I think it's great to be part of the community and just sharing as we learn things. So, no, thank you for that, Marco. Really appreciate that. And yeah, I think so. We'll take a break. Welcome back, everyone, from the break, and thanks to Marco and Steve earlier as well for their first session on SharePoint Syntex, and gives me a great pleasure to welcome Juan Carlos for being here, who's a 15-time MVP and covering all aspects of SharePoint Office 365 for many years, and a big community warrior as well for contributing the books and being moderator in many events and so forth. So yeah, really appreciate that, Juan Carlos, for being here. And so the next topic we have is shared channels. So again, yet another special type of channel we have in Microsoft Teams, but at least for the purposes what we have for the last few months, certainly it's a great seamless or less barrier of switching the tenants and inviting guests to a team and all those things. So session is going to be all about that and the architectural aspects of it. So I think with that I'll just hand over to Juan Carlos. And yeah, thanks for your time, giving up the effort, and for being here. So take it away.
Okay, thanks, Chirag. Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay, let me check if it's going there. All good. Yeah. So hello, everybody. First of all, thanks for coming to this session in this Microsoft 365 UK user group. I know the weather is very hot, I think everywhere, here in the Netherlands too. So let's do the best we can. So in this session, we are going to talk about shared channels in Microsoft Teams, and we are going to see an overview of what are shared channels, what is possible with them, some settings that you must consider when thinking on doing the rollout of shared channels, and so on. So first of all, let me introduce myself. Chirag already did that, but yeah, my name is Juan Carlos González. I'm from Spain, but living in the Netherlands since 2015, just because of family reasons, And here you can see some of my contact details, just in case you want to ask me something about this session or anything specific about Microsoft 365, Teams, SharePoint Online, yeah, the Power Platform, that are the topics where I normally work on my day by day. So this is the agenda. We are going to talk about basic concepts when talking about channels in Microsoft Teams. As Chirag said, we have shared channels, but before of shared channels, we have also the standard channels and private ones. So this is something not very new for all the people that are working around Microsoft Teams, specifically about with channels. And then, of course, we will be talking about specific in regards of shared channels and some themes that are behind the scenes that are making everything working as just should work, and some important tips you should know when working with shared channels. And of course, a small summary of the session. So first things first, let's talk about channels in Microsoft Teams. As you know, a channel in Microsoft Teams is a key building block that enables collaboration within an organization and also with other organizations. That can happen thanks to the support of Azure AD B2B. This is something that has been from the beginning in Microsoft Teams, but now with shared channels, we have different collaboration scenarios where we don't need to have the guest. That's very important because, let's see, we are going to be able to collaborate in a more flexible way, in a more easy way. Anyway, no matter the kind of channels we are talking about, we are going to have in all of them the features you see here. So we are going to have the possibility to post channel messages in the posts area. We can manage files. Here is where SharePoint Online is coming behind the scenes, because we are going to have a site that is linked to a shared channel. Again, we are going to have independent sites. So governance here is very important. And then, as you know, we can extend channels, and indeed we can extend teams with tabs. That is a specific way of extending teams by using existing applications or just custom applications we can create on our own. And of course, we have connectors. We will see that when talking about shared channels, we have some differences compared with the standard channels, where we can have all of the features, but not in shared channels, as happens with private channels. Okay, here is the animation. So if we focus on the shared channels, basically the idea is that we can collaborate in a seamless way across teams in our organization, and also teams on other organizations. And indeed, we can expand the boundaries of our organization. There is not a requirement of doing tenant switching. That is, let's say, very convenient for us, because we can collaborate with others in our tenant without having to move to another tenant where we are invited to work. So thanks to shared channels, that does not require anymore. We can avoid oversharing because we are working on the same area. Of course, we can reduce team proliferation in terms of external collaboration, because we can just create a shared channel. And yeah, as happens with private channels and with standard channels, we can inherit the team membership. That's not something, indeed, that this is something that makes also shared channel different, because as I will explain you later, you can invite indeed to a shared channel people that is not part of the team. That's very cool indeed. As happens with private channels, for a shared channel, we are going to have a SharePoint Online site collection that is linked to the channel. So that's very important, as I say, to be considered in terms of governance. Well, we shouldn't worry about that, because as you know, we can create up to 2 million sites in SharePoint Online. So we have, let's say, a very upper limit in terms of the number of sites created. But I guess that for bigger organizations such as, I don't know, Accenture, maybe even the Microsoft, maybe that limit should be expanded even further in the future, because as you know, we can create SharePoint sites from many places, from teams, from groups. If we are low, we can create sites from the SharePoint Online homepage, even from OneDrive for Business, and so on. So governance is something that is very important when talking about sites that are linked to channels in Teams. And then the most important feature we have in shared channels is this capability to add people that belongs to other organizations without having to invite them as guests in our tenant. That's very cool. It's secure by nature, as I will show you when we go deep dive in the settings part of Azure AD. And yeah, let's say that the collaboration is quite seamlessly and very flexible at all. Here you have some differences we can find when talking about what is possible depending on the channel type. Of course, all of the possibilities normally are coming to standard channels, but as you can see here, there are some differences when talking about shared channel. For instance, in a shared channel, we can add people that does not belong to, is not a member of the team, sorry. That's pretty cool. And yeah, we can limit the membership to a subset of members of the team, if allowed. It's possible, for instance, for shared channel to share the channel with other team. So imagine that scenario. We can create a single shared channel and share with multiple teams. So in this way, we are avoiding to create unnecessary teams in our tenant. So that's a very cool feature. Shared channels relies on B2B direct connect. This is a new feature for collaboration that is an extension of actually Azure AD B2B, and I think it's the future of collaboration in the different workloads we have in Microsoft 365. Teams is the first workload that is using this feature that obviously was designed and created by the Azure AD team. And yeah, this is very well documented. I will share the slides after the meeting so you can just review in detail the difference we have between the different channel types we can have in Teams. Speaking of which, here you have some visuals and a screenshot about the difference between every channel type. So a standard channel is just a regular channel, the first kind of channel we have in Microsoft Teams. Then we have the private channels with the lock icon next to the channel name. And then we have the shared channels with a different icon that represents a shared channel in the team. That's it. And then let's talk about more specific about shared channels and team owners. That's very important because indeed only team owners, as you could expect, can create shared channels. This is what we have for now by design. Team owners can see, as happens also with private channels, the name and description of all shared channels in a team, even without being a member of those shared channels. With private channels, you know that is the same case. Team owners can also delete shared channels without being a member. They have the power, let's say that. And team owners are the one that can accept shared with team invites. So that means that if I'm sharing a channel with a team, the team owner of the team I'm sharing with the channel is the one that is accepting this invite. Also, team owners can determine the sharing relationship with shared channels from other teams. And in terms of sensitivity labels, if we use sensitivity labels just for configuring, access control, how we can share information in a team, of course, as you could expect, the shared channels are inheriting the sensitivity label being used at the parent team. That's normal and that's expected. What about shared channels lifecycle? That's here you have an overview. Obviously, chain owners are the ones that are responsible of managing the membership and lifecycle of shared channels. And as happens with private channels, the last owner of a shared channel cannot be removed from the team. That's very important. That's by design. Anyway, it may happen that we can have shared channels ownerless. If that's the case, then an existing team member is going to be promoted to be an owner of that shared channel. And yeah, some settings are inherited by shared channel when we are creating the shared channel. And of course, we have an independent management for shared channels. So that means that let's go back. We can manage some settings that could be specific for the shared channel at the shared channel level. I will show you all of this in the demo. Here you have also the experience of sharing a shared channel. As you can see, it's possible to share a channel with internal members, even they are not member of the host team. You can share with external team members thanks to the power provided by Azure AD P2B Connect. And then you can share with internal teams and even with external tenant teams. So this is the user experience talking about sharing a channel with people, with a team, and with a team you own. But of course, there are some limits. You could expect that. So not everything is as beautiful as we could think. So here you have a table that is again coming from the documentation, and you have some additional details about some limits we can find with shared channels. So first of all, let's talk about members. Members in a team, you know that we can have 25,000 members in a team. So we could also have that amount of members in a shared channel. What about on the number of shared channels we can create in a team? Well, we can create up to 200. That's a lot. And then you may be asking, okay, I can share a shared channel with a team. How many times can I share a channel with a team? 50 times, excluding the parent team, as you can see there. Okay, so something I was saying though, the members in a shared channel can be up to 5,000 direct members, not the 25,000. Sorry for that. And that's included the 50 teams. That's very important. What else? Yeah, in terms of applications that are supported today, well, all of the apps we have today that relies on Microsoft 365 groups are not available in shared channel. That means that Planner is not available. That's interesting. Stream is not available. That's not a problem because, as you know, Microsoft is just transitioning classic Stream to modern Stream. So I guess it's not a problem. Microsoft does not support the Stream app in shared channels. Planner for me is a problem. I guess they are going to solve it in some way because They promise to solve this for private channels, but we still don't have a solution for that when having the possibility to add a partner plan to a private channel and now to a shared channel. I know that we can create partner plans without having a group behind the scenes. This is something that can be done by the graph, but if I'm not mistaken, there is not information about how we can possibly do this with private channels or shared channels. And same happens with forms. There are also some limitations in terms of native Teams apps, such as bot connectors and messages extensions that are not supported. They will come in the future, of course. And some other important thing is that you cannot add an app on your own to a shared channel if the app is not added first to the team. That's expected too, because the same behavior happens in private channels. And also, another limitation that at least I wasn't expecting is that you are not going to receive in the activity feed, so in the activity emails, notifications that are coming from shared channels. I don't know why, but this is a limitation we have now and is documented in Microsoft Docs. So sometimes you have to be aware when thinking on rolling out shared channels in Microsoft Teams. So let's do a first demo with my minions. So I'm going to take a look, first of all, at the user experience when working with shared channels in Microsoft Teams. So I will show you how you can create a shared channel, how you can share a shared channel with a user, with a team, and so on. So let's move to my environment demo. Here we are. So this is a demo environment. Of course, I'm using the famous Contoso environment that I'm pretty sure many of you is using for demos today. So that's also my case. So, and I'm going to discover here new themes. So here I have the famous Alan de Jong, and of course, yeah, I don't know why he's not in the public preview. One important thing that is not in the tips part of this session is about how is the state of the rollout of shared channels. Apparently, we are GA, but even in the Microsoft 365, it's not clear enough. So maybe if you don't see your tenant, it's because you still need to go to the public preview. So indeed, I'm going to enable here just in case I could have a demo effect. I don't want to have that. So I'm going to switch to the public preview in Teams. So at least when you first started to try the shared channels, when they appear in the arena, like I guess 3 months ago, you need to have the public preview in order to be able to test it. So here I am again in my Teams desktop app. I already have, I should have over here somewhere a thing I created for this specific talk. Yeah, here we are, the Microsoft 365 UK user group. So I'm going to create here a shared channel. So I'm going to click on a channel. And since everything is properly set up in my tenant, and I will explain you what you need to properly, what you need to configure in your tenant, I can create shared channel. So I'm going to say here, this is just the speaker's collaboration, for instance. Let's add the same description. And I'm going to choose here, and the privacy is shared. People you choose from your organization or other organizations have access. So that's cool. I'm going to click on create. And now, as you can expect, it's going to ask me, okay, which people do you want to add here? So I'm going to add for here, for instance, somebody, and let me look here at my notes. That is not part for sure of this thing. So I'm going to add Johnny Sherman. So Johnny Sherman, here he's working in the paralegal. I don't know what's that. So I'm going to add her to the shared channel. I'm going also to add Nestor Bilke. And maybe I'm going to add something that is not a guest in this team. So for instance, I'm going to add to myself, but in another tenant. Okay, it should find me. Okay, here I am. And as you can see here, I'm being tagged as external, no as a guest. This is the first difference you can find when comparing what happens when you add a guest in your team compared when you add external user in a shared channel. So the identification is different. Here we're talking about external people. So I'm going to choose Juan Carlos and I'm going to click on share. So now I'm going sending some invitations, and I'm done. So what about the user experience for Juan Carlos, for instance? What is going to see here in Teams? So let's go here to this browser and let's open Teams. Of course, as you can expect, Juan Carlos is going to see a notification in the activity feed telling him that he has been added to a shared channel on another tenant. Let's hope this is going to happen. Maybe I need to open, yeah, it's doing something strange. So maybe I need to open a private session on another page. Let's do in here. Sometimes with Google Chrome happens this. Okay, let's click here. Yeah. Okay, let's hope Teams is working here in the browser. Okay, perfect. Here we are. So let's take a look at the notifications. Okay, as you can see here, I have received a notification that Alan de Jong has added me to the shared channel, the Microsoft 365 UK user group, perfect, and the speaker collaboration shared channel. Then I don't need to make the switch to Contoso tenant because indeed I can see the shared channel here in Teams. So I'm going to click in Teams. I scroll down and here I have the shared channel I have been invited to. So I can click here and I can start a new conversation. I can even mention Alan de Jong. And Alan is going to receive a notification, as you can see here, about the mention done by Juan Carlos in the other tenant. So that's pretty cool. So let's talk about sharing a shared channel, not only with the external user, but also with another team. How we do that? Okay, you can click on the three dots and then share channel, and you can choose with a team you own. For instance, let's choose with a team. Here, you are going to be asked to type the team owner you want to add the share channel, sorry. So in this case, I'm going to add Patty Fernandez, and I'm going to send the invite. So I'm going to click on send invite. The invite was sent. I will open now another session, and I'm going to share also this share channel with the team I own. So in this case, the user experience is a little bit different because here I'm going to see the list of teams actually I am owner. So for instance, I can choose here. I'm going to choose the Power Platform Global Bootcamp team. There we go. So I'm going to click on done. And now this same speakers collaboration shared channel is just part for the moment of two teams, the Microsoft 365 UK user group, and also from the Global Program Platform Bootcamp. So here we are. So this is the speaker collaboration with the same message. And of course, I can click here on the three dots. I can click on Manage Channel, and I can see the sent invites. One is pending, 14 days until Patty Fernandez can accept this invite. I can see the members also. And as you can see here, the point of view of members in a shared channel is a little bit different compared with the members part of the team or the members part of the private channel. So I can see the teams area where actually I can see this shared channel belongs to two different teams. One of them, of course, is the host team, that is the Microsoft 365 UK user group. But also this team belongs to this other team, and I can see actually the number of members. And for this shared channel, I can see actually who are the members. Johnny, that belongs to Contuso, Nestor, and of course Juan Carlos, that is external. And as you can see here, a slight difference. Juan Carlos is not a guest, he's actually a member. So we are not talking here about guests in shared channel. That's very important thing. So let's open Google Chrome. I hope it's going to work to see what Patty can see here in regards of the invitation. So let's click on Teams. Let me verify I'm not missing themes. yeah, there is something extra we need to check. That is actually the SharePoint site that is behind the scenes. And then we can go back to the slides. So I hope this is going to work for Patty. Yeah, there we go. So let's click on the activity. This is the invitation. I can accept the invitation for this share channel to be part of one of the teams I own. We can, first of all, take a look at the different teams. So as you can see, the view is different from Alan de Jong view. Patty belongs to less teams compared to Alan, and of course, he's owner of fewer teams compared to Alan. So let's click again on activity. I'm going to click on add. And now I had to choose from my teams, poor Patty, she's only owner of 2 teams, from my teams in which ones I want to add this share channel. Because I'm an owner and I can do it. As I mentioned in the slides, the owners have the powers in terms of share channels. So, okay, let's choose this one, Microsoft Friday, Cabos and Lucas event. So as you can see, I'm very original. I tend to create a team for every event I normally speaking, sorry. So I'm going to add this in the Microsoft 365 Cabos and Lucas. So I can go to my team list. I can look for this specific team. I have here my share channel as expected. So cool. So let's go back to the Teams desktop client. And now let's go to the original team where I create the speaker collaboration share channel. So let's click in the 3 dots. First of all, let's click on Manage Channel. Yeah, some important thing I mentioned. Of course, you have here the settings part that is similar to the settings options we have for private channels, where you can just do some specific settings that are specific for these share channels. This share channel in terms of member permissions, mentions, fun stuff, and so on. So if I click again on the speaker collaboration channel name and I click on files, you are going to see the same file experience you are very used to when working on Teams, but let's open in SharePoint. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Let me open here the browser. So let's see, it's going to open in the browser I want. Yes, there we go. So I'm Alan de Jong here. Yeah, this is the SharePoint site that is linked to this share channel. So you can easily identify that, okay, the Microsoft Teams team, yeah, was not, I can say that, it was not so innovative at all because they follow the same pattern they use for private channels. So as you can see here, this is the channel name in the URL, then a dash, and then the share channel name. Of course, we can easily identify this is new. This site belongs to a share channel because we have here this icon and also the share channel legend. Of course, we don't have here a folder for the channel. That's not required. We have a full document library for all the documents we want to have in this share channel. I can click on the homepage and you are going to see just a specific SharePoint site with a specific, I guess, site template applied here, where you have these news, some shortcuts, activities, and so on. What about the security in this site? Well, as you could guess, this is a little bit hidden here. So, okay, I don't know what's that. So as you can see here, you can see the owners. So this is using just a standard SharePoint permissions model or SharePoint security model. As you can see, the owners of the share channel, they are added to the full control group here. Then members is quite interesting because you are talking about members to the original share channel in the team, in the host team it was created. You can see there that is added to the group. But as soon as you start sharing a channel with another team, what you are going to see here are the members of the team. Look at this in the group details card. So here you can see the group, the Global Power Platform Bootcamp, and then yeah, the Microsoft UK user group members, they can have access to the share channels site. But we can go even, let me see here, to the site information and view all the settings. I'm looking here about the classic SharePoint security administration. It's not here, but no worries. We can see that. I think it's user. Yeah, there we go. So here you have. As you can see here, we have the 3 classic SharePoint groups, the with the full control role, the edit role, and so on. If we click on owners, we are going to see famous Alan de Jong. And in visitors, there is nothing for now. This is, let's say, one of the groups we can use. And in members, we can see the same information we have already seen in the permissions panel. One important thing here is that members and owners of the site should be managed at the share channel level. That's very important. It doesn't happen the same with the visitors. In the visitors, you can add any user you want. Why I'm saying that? Because behind the scenes, I guess we have some automations that are responsible of adding every owner and every member of the share channel is going to be added here to the SharePoint security groups. That's very important. So don't try to do things that could mess the security part of the site. So it's time to go back to the slides because I still have to talk about the configuration part. So under the hood, what do we have under the hood? First of all, we have to talk about Teams admin settings. So as you can guess, in the Teams policies area, we are going to have specific settings to govern, to control how we can use share channels in our tenant. We have 3 different settings. First of all, possibility to create share channels. We can create share channels on a tenant even without having Azure AD B2B Connect configured. That's possible. We can create it and we can share channels among our teams, but obviously we cannot share with external people. That's important to know. And then we have 2 other settings. First settings is to invite people from other organizations to our share channels. That's what we did with Juan Carlos. And the other way around, give the possibility of our corporate user to join share channels on another tenant. So you must be aware of that. Maybe your organization, you want to enable collaboration from your organization to others, but maybe not the other way around. So again, that's a very important governance decision. Which directions do you want for collaborating with externals? Okay. What else? Of course, here the absolutely key block in share channels is Azure AD B2B Connect, Direct Connect. That is a new way to collaborate. That is the present and the future of collaboration in Microsoft 365. So Microsoft Teams, as I said before, is the first workload using this capability of Azure AD, but I guess it's coming to SharePoint Online and to other workloads. So it's a question of time, in my opinion. So the idea is that in Azure AD B2B, you have to start searching for people from other Azure AD organizations. So first of all, you have to invite, you have to configure the other Azure AD organizations in your tenant. So in that way, you enable to search people from other organizations there. And of course, with Azure AD, it's a question of share. So you can share apps, other resources, and so on. And the power here is that we don't need to switch tenants in order to start collaborating. We can do my people and people from another organization on our Teams desktop client or the web client, no matter without doing this switching. So here you have some important things to know about Azure AD B2B Direct Connect. By default, it's off. That's very important. This is because of security concerns. It's not the same as Azure AD B2B that is enabled by default. That means that you can add a guest in your tenant unless you disable the feature. But with B2B, Direct Connect, that's not the same case. By default, it's off. So a good thing for Microsoft, they did that. And then you have to configure the inbound access. So that means that how you are going to invite users from other organizations to your organization, and the outbound access. That means how you are going to allow your people to access other organizations. And then we can have some general controls in terms of even instead of being able to invite people, all the people of other organization, what about inviting a specific group? What about even inviting a specific persons? That's possible with Azure AD B2B Connect, Direct Connect, as I will show you in a minute. And then even you can enforce some security. So it's possible for you to enforce MFA, even that they access your teams using compliant devices, and so on. We already talked about this. For every share channel, we have a full SharePoint site. Just in case you are wondering about the SharePoint site template used behind the scenes, is Team Channel 1. As I was mentioning, there is not a default channel folder in the document library. The idea is that they are going to be, external users are going to be able to access to the site, work with information that is there, and so on. And we can manage channel sites that are linked to shared channels from the SharePoint Online Admin Center. That's, of course, expected. Some other themes, you may be wondering, what about compliance? Well, that's very important. Of course, shared channels are very well designed, and the idea is that any compliance policy that has been applied to the host team is going to apply to the shared channel. The same happens with the sensitivity labels, as I mentioned before. With shared channels, we have support for multi-geo. Of course, we can make a discovery search in regards to channel messages, because in the end, channel messages are going to dedicate me mailbox. We can also search content in any SharePoint site that includes shared channel sites. It's possible to put on a legal hold information on the shared channel, of course, only information for tenant members, that's expected also. Even we can configure information barriers. Of course, monitoring and auditing is supported, not only by means of the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 audit log, but also by the Azure AD audit log. And yeah, you could expect that most of the features we have in terms of the compliance offerings provided by Microsoft are going to be applicable to shared channels. Then let's go for the second demo. So first things first, before moving forward and show you configuration, let's see the experience of trying to invite to this shared channel to a person that actually belongs to an organization that I don't trust because it's not configured in Azure AD B2B Direct Connect. For instance, if I put my email address at Rico, yeah, this is what you have. I cannot find myself. That's because, first of all, Rico.s has not been added as a trust organization in my tenant, and also the other way around. So that's the reason why I cannot invite Juan Carlos to the shared channel. So as you can see, this is secure by nature, let's say that. So let's click on close. First of all, let's go to the Teams Admin Center. And let's take a look to the Teams policy, where we can see the different controls we have for shared channels. So I can click on Teams here. And I'm going to use Alan de Jong, that is a global admin in this tenant. There we go. And then let's click on Teams and Teams policies. One important thing, if you don't see this in your tenant, maybe it's because you need to, first of all, configure the update policy. That means that you are going to see features that Microsoft is releasing in advance, but they are not even in target release or GA. So maybe you need to configure just for testing purposes an active policy for some specific users in your tenant. So just in case you don't see the shared channels control, it's because maybe you need to switch to the public preview. That shouldn't be the case at this time, but maybe it's still happening for some tenants. So going back to the Teams policies, for instance, I can click on global org wide the policy, the default one. And as you can see, by default, everything in Teams, as always happens, is on. So create shared channels on, and so here you can see some information. Invite external users to shared channels is also on, and join external shared channels is also on. With this setting on, I can create shared channels. I can share channels in different teams in my tenant, but with these other two settings on is not enough for inviting external people to my shared channels or to allow people in my organization to join external team, because I need to do something, some extra work, indeed quite, let's say, quite interesting work in Azure AD. That is the important piece here in the shared channels. So everything in Teams part is fine. So I'm going to click here in the Azure AD. I had to go to the external identities part in Azure Active Directory. There we go. So I'm going to click on external identities. And then, as you can see here, actually, important thing, I don't see here preview anymore. So that means that we should be GA. But anyway, it may happen that that's not the case, your case. So as you can see here, I'm going to see these tenant access settings that actually govern not only Azure AD B2B Direct Connect, but also Azure AD B2B. So here I can see organizational settings. I indeed already seen some organizations I have already invited to collaborate by using Azure AD B2B Connect. And I can click on default settings. That's what I was saying, that from here you are governing not only direct connect, but also B2B collaboration. As I was saying in the deck, B2B collaboration by default is all enabled. But if you think about B2B direct connect, the default is all blocked. So you have to go organization by organization to do the inbound and outbound access settings you desire. Don't open this for everything. This is dangerous. So my advice here is just keep this configuration as it is for users and groups and also for applications, and simply add the organization you want to work with in the configuration part. And the same happens for inbound access settings and for outbound access settings. So everything is open in regards of B2B collaboration, but not with B2B Direct Connect. So how does it work? How I add an organization? Well, it's as simple as click on add organization and just add Rico.test here. This is Rico Europe. You can see here immediately is able to resolve the tenant. Tenant ID is here, and I can click on add. Obviously, I'm not going to configure anything, just in case I don't want to have problems with the tenant admins at Rico Europe. But just in case you can see how it works. So as you can see, the default is inherited from default. That means that even I had added here Rico Europe PLC, everything is blocked. That means that you have to do some setup. What do you need to do? Well, let's check what is already configured here in these two existing tenants. So first thing is, for instance, for this one that is a testing tenant. First of all, the inbound access. So the settings I need to make just to invite external people to my share channels. So I can click on configure here. And again, here you're going to see the B2B collaboration. Everything is open, the default settings. So I don't need to change anything here. But the important thing here is the B2B Direct Connect settings. If you don't do anything here, the default settings is everything blocked. And as you can see here, the settings I have changed is just for external users and group, analoging access, and analoging access for every user in this organization. That's okay. I could choose select a specific user and groups, and then you can click here and add external user and groups. And then you need to ask the company you want to work with for the user ID or the group ID for the users and group you want to collaborate. That's very important because obviously you cannot discover it over here. So this is not for now. I don't know if this is going to change as smart as being able to resolve an email address or the email address of the group. It doesn't work like this. So you need to provide an ID here and then choose if you are talking about a user or a group. So let's go back to everything here. My job here is done. And you can even do the same with applications. So you can provide access to this tenant to all your applications in Microsoft 365, or maybe you can select specific applications. For instance, just Office 365. So I can click on select and click on save. And everything should work. Just in case to avoid demo effect, let's discard the changes. Last thing here, remember, I'm here in the host tenant, that is Contoso. You can then define some task settings. You can just leave the default settings. You are not going to ask specific themes to the external users, but maybe you can decide to say, okay, that's not secure, or I don't trust in this new theme designed by Microsoft. I'm going to click on customize, and I'm going to ask for, at least when they ask the external users are accessing my search channels, they should use the multi-factor authentication. Even you could force trust compliant device, or even you could force trust hybrid Azure AD joint device. Obviously, don't do this by your own. You first have to have some conversations with the other organization in order to see which one of these three settings is applicable. So let's go to the default settings. Yes. Here in the host, we are done, but it's not enough because then we had to go to the other organization. So we had to ask to our colleagues, our admin colleagues in the other organization to do essentially the same. Not exactly the same. They need at least to configure. Let's go back to external identities. Let's click on this tenant. They need to define at least the outbound access because here I configure the inbound. I can invite people, but I need also to allow people, this is for the organization, to be able to be invited to Contoso. Indeed, I already done that for, let's say, for Contoso. As you can see here, if I click on B2B Direct Connect, same settings. So I can, I have chosen customize settings, and I have allowed access, and all Contoso users can be invited to this tenant. That's very important. And as you can see here I don't have security configuration, obviously, because this is something that has to be done in the other tenant. So if I go back to the other tenant over here, I'm here also an administrator, you are going to see that I have already done all the job in Azure ID. So I'm going to click over here and show all Azure Active Directory, external identities, those tenant access settings. And as you can see here, I have Contoso. Also, I have the tenant of Tony Redmond, just in case you know him. And yeah, what I have done here, I properly configured the outbound access so my users can access actually shared channels at Contoso. That in this is what I need, or what I want. So if I click on B2B Direct Connect, as you can see, this is the reason why my users are able to see shared channels here in Teams. So that's everything you need to know about settings in the Teams Admin Center and in Azure ID Connect. And last but not least, SharePoint Online administration. So let's go back here. Let's click on SharePoint. And let's take a look about how do I see, a shared channel site from the admin point of view. So I'm going to look for, okay, here we are. This is the team. And as you know, Microsoft SharePoint Online team is also evolving the Teams Admin Center. And now we have the possibility in the General tab, in the site card, site details card, I can see not only the information about the site that is tied to the team, but also the channel sites. So I can click on View, and then I'm going to access to a subset of management of sites, where I can see actually all the sites that are linked to the host team. So I can click on this site, and I can see here the details. So I can see the permissions, the policies, and so on. Of course, you can do everything I have just explained in terms of SharePoint with PowerShell, also the Teams part. I don't know for sure with Azure ID. I guess it's also possible to configure Azure ID B2B Direct Connect with PowerShell, but no idea. This is something maybe homework for me. So just almost finishing, wrapping up. So some important things to know. You may be wondering, okay, thanks Microsoft, a new type of channels. Is it possible to convert existing channel to shared channel? Well, the answer is not, as you could expect. And also the other way around. It's not possible to convert an existing shared channel into a standard channel or a private one. That's not possible. Also, an interesting thing is that you can create, you can schedule a Teams meeting from a shared channel. This is something that, for instance, you cannot do in a private channel. You can do in a shared channel. But the interesting thing here is that even you can schedule a meeting in the shared channel. The shared channel members are not invited to the meeting. Interesting. Well, so this is something you may know. I hope they are going to fix this. And then this was already mentioned before. You need to install first the apps in the team before you can use in the shared channel. And yeah, there are some apps that are group connected that are not available in shared channels yet, such as Planner. So just finishing, as I mentioned, shared channels are designed to enable seamless collaboration with internal and external partners. They are flexible. You don't need to work anymore with guest accounts if you don't need it. So you can just work with external partners. We have governance at 2 levels, the Teams Admin Center and the HUID Admin Center. And everything relies on HUID B2B Connect. I'm missing the B2B in the first part here. And by default, everything is blocked there. This is because security concerns, and this is recommended to keep it as it is and only start adding collaboration you trust for start collaborating with them. And as I mentioned, any policy that applies to the host tenant and team will apply to all the shared channels and all the channel members. Some references you can find in my deck when I share with you. I will use a slide share, or maybe I will share with Chirag so he can share with you. Because nowadays slide share is I don't like how they are allowing community to share content, so I had to look for a replacement. And what about the roadmap? Okay, there are things still there. So that's the reason why I say that apparently it's GA, but depending on the message in the roadmap, you may find that it's still rolling out and even is in development. So I guess Microsoft needs to make some cleaning in the roadmap in terms of shared channels. And yes, and last thing, just in case, as Chirag was mentioning, I'm part of the grading team in the Office 365 for IT Pros. So just in case you want to buy this book, you can grab a discount of $10. This is a book we update every month, so it has a value, in my opinion. And if you are a developer, there is also a book from another very good friend of mine. He's also MVP. Where he talks everything about developing tips and tricks about using mostly the Graph API, but everything is like, let's say, the Office 365 Bible for any developer in the world. And that's all from my side. So I hope you have followed me more or less. I hope you have found this session interesting. And now, you have any question, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Awesome. Juan Carlos, very good session, end to end, a lot of detail. Perfect. So thank you for that. And I think there were a couple of questions or some scenarios, so I'll probably just read them out to you while you grab some water and things. But yeah, I think we had a question from Carla, which I think you demonstrated there. Is that for the shared channels, does the B2B need to be enabled? And I think you showed us that there are different levels of inbound and outbound access configuration settings. So I think hopefully, Carla, that answers your question. But by all means, please unmute yourself if there is anything you want to ask, any additional relating to that question. Another good question from Carla there as well. What type of controls are available to monitor the external user activity and govern the access and govern their access in shared channels?
Well, I mentioned this in the deck. You have the Microsoft 365 audit log. This is your main feature where you can audit everything that is happening around Teams and SharePoint Online. And then you have also the ISORD sign-ins log where you can also see where they are signing in and so on. Of course, here you have depending on the Microsoft 365 subscription, you must be aware of the limitations in terms of retention of the information in the logs that really relies on the license. 45 is a year,
yes.
43 is 3 months. So if you need to look back, like let's say more than a year, then you need a system where you store those logs. I'm saying that because this is a question I find a lot, and I have to explain customers that maybe you need to have a copy of the logs in database or somewhere, so you can have information for a long period of time. No, so yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's it's always the case. I think the default assumption is that you get access to the audit logs forever, but yeah, certainly not the case. No, thank you for that. Okay, and then we have a question from we have a question. So we have yeah, there's a shared channel set up with some external developers and the Azure DevOps apps, which is kind of part of the standard channel that's been added, does not work with shared channels. So I guess we're both
very interesting,
not going to share
because
that.
yeah, there is not a dependency of the Azure DevOps app from groups. So I guess maybe it's a bug. Maybe this is something, Chirag, we can report internally to the team's team that apparently is not working. I think, to be honest, I didn't have an idea that this is happening. So
no, I had, that's something I learned something new on this one. I didn't realize the Azure DevOps apps, if it's working with the shared channel. So yeah, I think I've got your initials there, JW. So I think you're at techchirag.com. Just reach out to me, and I think drop a note so I can grab your email, and then yeah, we can try and sort of, as you say, Juan Carlos, we can go through Microsoft on that to understand what's the
I think so. I think this is a bug, and the app is not ready for some reason to work with shared channel. I guess the problem is that the Azure DevOps is not prepared to work with Azure AD B2B Direct Connect. That's the problem for sure. So it's not prepared to work with this new collaboration model. So that could be the reason, but we can try to see is that the case. But I guess that's what is happening.
Sure. No, great, thanks. And I think the rest of it, I think it's just very good comments from the attendees. The demo was perfect, so I think thanks for that, Andy. And yeah, I think great sessions overall. I think one more time, just want to say a big thanks to our speakers, Marco Rocca and Steve Polik, and as well as yourself, Juan Carlos. Thanks for, as ever, I know we obviously often meet online, and been a while since we've met in person, but I think, keep up the great work, and attendees, I hope you've also got a lot out of today's sessions. And of course, like I mentioned earlier today, we're back next month, 10th of August, with again, good MVPs, Carolina Katukari from Finland and Ragnar as well from Germany. So 2 different sessions again. That's going to be on Microsoft Viva. So everything you ever wanted to know, but from a business perspective, then that's the session for you to tune in next month. But also another Azure Active Directory, as well as the Active Directory, minimizing the attack paths. So that's all we have. I've posted in the chat window the link to the session feedback, so please do provide a feedback for Juan Carlos. Again, that will really help him as well as the previous speakers as well. So yeah, I think I'll probably leave you with the links over there. So grab a picture or something. But I think if you do have any ideas today that's cropped up today, and you think you want to present something, happy to help you. Even if it's a 15-20 minute session, so it doesn't have to be a full 45 minutes, then please do get in touch and just fill out your idea. But otherwise, I'll just say, be safe, enjoy the summer, the sunshine that we have at the moment, and look forward to catch up with you, everybody, at M365 UK next month. Thanks, everyone.